So my father was a native Californian, and he was born in 1908. He was 20 years older than my mother. This is called the Two Herberts, and his name is Herbert Samuel Jepson, my father. Dad was a renowned drawing teacher from the age of 21 who also taught Disney animators anatomy. 20 years older than Mother, he was born in 1908 here in Glendale on a farm amidst many dust-flocked, shrub-dense, arid hills and orange groves. Distance was literal and metaphorical then. Post-Mexican Revolution, post-World War I, none of the families in that area had wealth. So that, and, quote, the way things were, the only birthday present Father received in his childhood was a birthday cake. This didn't seem to matter to a boy larger than his other 5 siblings who was occupied with running wild all day in the open spaces. Dogs, feral cats, and bobcats, birds such as roadrunners, coyotes, and bears also congregated these desert fields and hills where he and his milk farmer, tree feller father camped. I used to hike through here, Dad casually declared as we drove the freeway from one side of his memory to the other. I even chased a bear just for fun, a black bear, but boy, he took off and cut through those thick, prickly bushes like they were butter, like they were nothing. I wanted to know him then. Father's childhood best friend was Herbert Jolly, and according to Dad, the only black boy in the county. The two Herberts were called the Gold Dust Twins. Herbert Jolly knew how to run from gators, just as his Deep South grandpa told him, zigzag, not the way you run that 100-yard dash, Dad assured me, his eye on the invisible mark. The two Herberts, they loved to wrestle and have boxing matches, eat oranges, throw oranges at each other, eat endless ears of corn while sitting on the curb at dusk, hike the terrain while telling corny jokes and laugh and laugh and laugh and yes, throw more oranges at each other. Dad never understood racism of any kind. It simply made no sense for a man whose sense was couched in the senses, especially in the sense of sight, where everything was beautiful. Father's language, too, was perhaps inadvertently full of the visual color from his upbringing. He often adorned these stories with funny phrases and swear words like pig's eye, milk toast, Jiminy Christmas, and mind your own potatoes. Yes, Father certainly taught me how to be hungry for life. Now, Dad was married before he married my mother, and he had 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, and his daughter's name was Lynn, and she married very, very young, and at 26, she died in a ferocious rainstorm here in Topanga Canyon, which is one of those rare rainstorms like we had recently. Her car was washed off the cliff, and after coming home from a class and a wedding party. She was married to a policeman. She was having an affair with a beautiful black man, and I have a photograph of him sitting on the rocks at the beach. So my mother was always a little suspicious about it. It took a week for them to find her. Deliberate as thinking is the rain. Stepping off the door lintel down onto the grass as the day closed around us, grass rising up inside its own squared green, she walked backwards slow, full length of the lawn to the blue Volkswagen Bug, waved and folded herself inside where her husband and 2 children waited. Mouth closed, hair loose, hands open, facing Mother and me. Nothing else is moving, and the sky is so far, an abstract irrelevance. I stared and stared back for as many years as I could stand, her escaping face in its stages of flowering and deflowering from the frame, since it was the last time afforded us her face, its pale proof and myth, its core of rain held off from the picture now black and white, beneath us, and that full body of trees remaining years into the spine and thigh. into skull, into the lungs, hair flickering out like reversed candlelight in the river stir, rain kicking itself back in radio static. And the drag chair, her father's, my father's lynched cough down the hall. She told Mother at the beach that she saw herself buried in a dream in the water years before her children like pendulums hung from the singing mast of her own voice. She would go out alone to a class and a wedding, the sky bearing its impatient weight over her, and everything that could be named there. In its random order, the rain would then come that night hard, flooding on a year in a place where rain never rains or raises cars or shapes a silence in its loud punishment metal scrawl across its own carnal ambition, but would and did and made moan and cage and bad of it. This is sort of around the same time, a little later, closer to the Vietnam War, and my brother and I are sleeping or trying to sleep, and our parents are having a party downstairs. Alienation, procession, blame requires a long rehearsal, and it has an epigraph from Japanese fairy tales. Urashima slept in his drifting boat. No one sees you sleeping when you are a child. The bed, a civilian boat left unmoored, its gray dust barnacles underside cling and ring of the far-off boy in a funeral of fog, nightlight obscured. It's hard to read the drunken names on the faces of strangers who came to the party, rattled the windows with their light voices downstairs, but there was nothing else to imagine in the dark, its murmuring box of algorithms, trapped in the hour of the ever-sleeping. My brother vexed in the next room, both hands to his head, private fire in the making. Tomorrow 3 toy men in cloth uniform will die by light socket, their metal legs opening the light out from inside the singed sound of his future, brightening death ribs parted, invisible smoke filling both our mouths till we can't speak. Because born underwater, we refused parents, and we refused all schools of dream. We refused nightshades and God and his biblical paper, like this country's floating ash upward toward the ceiling, its burnt skin offering in this year of war. But war was already so home. Light sockets gaping, house lights flickering in an interrupted rhythm, and the party mind, now empty, for what we might have seen leaking from the dolls' heads, their wounds' laughter, while the whole house sailed out in front of our eyes as we struggled to sleep, like only children can to see through its white wall. And this last one was hard to write. I'm really grateful that Baum is publishing it, but I'm still, it's really about being unhappy about being white during this time. I wrote it when Trump was elected, and I was so freaked out. I was so unhappy, and I was thinking about Billie Holiday's beautiful song, You're Bearing Strange Fruit. And then I started looking things up, and I found this, actually on the Huffington Post, I found this weird detail, which, I don't know if this is true, but they said that the concept of human races begins during the Spanish Inquisition around 1480. And especially now with Charlottesville and everything. Oh my God. Anyway, so it's called Your Bearing, 1619 to 2017. And thank you again, everyone. What language are you now? Blood fuck blanco made on the leaves. Brother was blood in the ears. Blood bitter crop bodied out. The poplar rain falling grape gray in this cricket eating fury again from someone else's tantrum madness. The limb tree, berries rolling under the dining table, the untied city rope hanging, scraping. I dragged myself from yard to yard, knee, kneel, and elbow first on concrete, and then the tire marks on the skin. They skin animals' fur first, not mine, but however mine, inherited and ashamed and born, ass asleep, white with itch, root, and rot, that men will work to hate each other a day in their hate towards someone they don't know, having their way beneath steeplechase hours, beneath breath to color, sister slow asleep there, and in the leaves of these eaten crops made all of concrete body, little mouthfuls of song, south song, dead salt thrown overboard, that by word origins tongue out and heat wasted, such sass, such now, such shame rises in the outcrop, God cotton mouth and sweat wheat life, fire me given against my will. Blood jeans, apple split in the subtitle, in the peach head knot of history, sick in the instrument stomach. Thank you.